The Porcupine Slope, written by Kunzang Choden, illustration by Pema Tshering. Aum Usala, mother porcupine, and Bumi Usala, daughter porcupine, were hungry porcupines. They were always looking for food. When these porcupines came to Amnale's pumpkin patch, they had the time of their lives. They sunk their sharp front teeth into the soft flesh of the pumpkins. Chomp, chomp, munch, munch. Suddenly, without any warning, a small pumpkin came flying through the dark night and landed on Bumi Usala. She was crushed flat to the ground. Bumi Usala made soft grunts for help as she dragged herself under the weight of the pumpkin. Amnale came out of her house, shouting angrily. She had thrown the small half-eaten pumpkin at Bumi Usala. The pumpkin had landed on Bumi Usala just as she had sparked out her quills to protect herself. "I cannot move. The weight of whatever hit me is much too heavy for me," said Bumi Usala. "It's only a half-eaten pumpkin," Aum Usala whispered. "Why did you spark out your quills, dear baby? You should have rolled yourself up and played dead as I told you to do." "Amma, you trained me to do that when in danger. You said I would appear big and threatening if I sparked out my quills," sighed Bumi Usala sadly. "But that was the wrong thing to do. You must listen to me better. I've lived longer than you, so I know more than you." Then, more gently, Aum Usala said, "Be still. Don't even breathe. Let Amnale think we have gone." All was quiet and dark. They could hear Amnale muttering and scolding the thieving porcupines. "Go away and don't come back again," she said threateningly. Then they heard her shut the door to her hut with a loud bang. Aum Usala looked at her baby, Bumi Usala, who was lying flat on the ground, exhausted and unable to move. Aum Usala had to think fast. How could she save her only child? She had an idea. "Do not move at all while I am gone. You shall be saved." Soon, Bumi Usala heard grunts and high-pitched noises that she recognized as the voices of her relatives. Her uncle Zella, Auntie Zum Zum with their baby Zombie, grandfather Zico, and grandmother Zizi were near Bumi Usala. Aum Usala had searched for her relatives and invited them to a feast. "Please, eat all you can. It's a tasty pumpkin," she urged them carefully. The sound of chattering of teeth filled the quiet ear. Munch, munch, crunch, crunch. Bumi Usala could feel the vibration of pulls and tugs on her body as her relatives feasted on the pumpkin stuck on her. Soon, all the pumpkin was eaten off her back and Bumi Usala was free of her load. Then Bumi Usala stood up and looked around. Her relatives were still smacking their lips and muttering sounds of pleasure before they quietly disappeared into the dark night. Aum Usala and Bumi Usala stood hugging each other tightly in relief, making sure that none of their quills were sticking out. In the night, Aum Usala could not sleep. She was thinking too much about what happened that day. Her baby had been in immense danger. There were too many porcupines where they lived in Ungur. There was not enough food for all the porcupines. It was dangerous to go into the gardens. People threw pumpkins, turnips, and radishes at the porcupines all the time. Aum Usala had heard that there were no porcupines in Tang Valley in Bumthang. She heard that Tang Valley was just behind the mountain. Aum Usala had a big idea. The next morning, Aum Usala announced, "We will go to Tang Valley in Bumthang," as she gave Bumi Usala the last piece of pumpkin that she had hidden in their burrow. "I have heard that the journey is long and dangerous, so no porcupine has been there before," she said thoughtfully. "How do you know that the journey is long and dangerous if no porcupine has traveled to Tang Valley before?" asked Bumi Usala, busily chewing the piece of pumpkin in her mouth. "I know because our granduncle Soong La once tried to go there but came back because he could not climb the Porcupine Slope in Tang." "Ooh, tell me the story of our granduncle Soong La," begged Bumi Usala, who loved to listen to stories. So Aum Usala began to tell the story. Granduncle Soong La started his long journey towards Tang after he was nearly hit with a giant radish someone threw at him many years ago. How many years ago? So many years ago. I do not remember. He waddled for many days, climbing higher and higher towards Rodong La, the big mountain between Unger in Linse and Tang Valley in Bumthang. He rested every few steps. He had to eat strange insects, roots, and twigs that he had never tasted before. As he climbed higher and higher, he began to paint, and his teeth chattered uncontrollably. He was out of breath, but he waddled on. Inch by inch, he moved on, clinging to branches and roots on the rock face. Trail up to Rodong La was steep and stony. Luckily, the nubby pads under his feet helped him to cling on objects in his path. He clung on to rocks, branches, even grass and scrubs as he plodded on. Sometimes he stumbled and nearly fell down the steep cliffs. After many days, Granduncle Soong La was on the top of the mountain. The wind was cold and blustery. It was winter and it was snowing, but he waddled on, chanting, "It will be better once I am in Tang Valley." He curled his body and shielded himself with the quills on his body like armor. Cold was biting and his teeth chattered even louder than before. Ya lama hoosh. He had finally crossed Rodong La. Through the rubble and the bushes, he waddled down towards Tang Valley until he reached the forest. Through the forests, he waddled for days, and suddenly he came to a small slope in the road. He stopped and looked at the sides of the dip. Granduncle Soong La sat on one side of the dip and groaned. To him, the slope looked like another big climb. Another Rodong La. "Oh no," he said, and shook his head sadly, and his whole body shivered. His quills rattled noisily. "I cannot climb another mountain. The Rodong La climb was so long and hard. It's better that I return the way I came and go back to Unger." Poor Granduncle Soong La lost hope and turned on his heels and headed back to go over the Rodong La and never reached Tang Valley in Bumthang. That slope in Tang Valley is called the Porcupine Slope because no porcupine has ever crossed it. "Now you know why it will be a long and dangerous journey," said Ama Usala. Bumi Usala sat quietly for a long time, thinking hard, and finally she shook her quills happily. "Ama, that was a long time ago. We do not have to go the same way across Rodong La," said Bumi Usala excitedly. "How shall we go then?" asked Ama Usala. "We will follow the new road people have made to travel in their cars. We will just walk along the road." "Yes, oh yes," nodded Ama Usala. "How clever of you to think of that. I've never thought of that. My old mind is so stuck on the past. Of course, we can follow the roads and go wherever the road takes us." Ama Usala stared into the distance thoughtfully and said, "We must listen to you, young ones, more often. I may know things you do not, but you also may know things that I do not. Together, we will know more." Then Ama Usala and Bumi Usala hugged each other tightly, making sure that their quills were not sticking out. They started their journey to Tang Valley. They followed the car road. They kept to the sides of the road. They walked partly covered in the bushes and plants. They were hidden from others traveling on the same route. A new journey to a new life. Together, we will always know more. They sang happily and walked on. This is how porcupines came to Bumthang.